everybody, and welcome to a very special Christmas Eve Overly Sarcastic Productions special. I used special in that sentence twice. Apparently, I didn't proofread this. Today, we are going to be doing a Christmas movie showdown. Each of our lovely participants have selected a movie of their choice that they believe to be the ideal Christmas movie. Each of us will do a short presentation on why our movie is the objectively best choice, and then the other three participants will act as a panel of judges and award the movie points based on how well it fulfills the following three criteria. Is the movie fun? Is the movie festive? And does it impart the viewers with the true meaning of Christmas? As always, I am Red. Shall our lovely contestants introduce themselves?
Yes. I am Blue.
I am Cyan.
I'm Indigo, and I think I misunderstood the assignment, but I'm ready to showdown anyway.
Woo!
Woo!
Now we have truly brought podcast energy to the detailed diatribe.
Wait, Indigo.
It's what we need.
Indigo, though, you were in the group chat where this was decided, and I was not.
Don't worry about it.
Now, before we get started on our first presentation of the evening, I believe it would be good to lay out how exactly points will be assigned. This isn't really about the points, but for some of us it kind of is about the points, so I figure the more we lay this out, the better it'll be. The general criteria is that of each of the three categories, fun, festive, and does it impart the true meaning of Christmas upon the viewer, each one shall be scored on a scale from 0 to 3, and if one of them excels, it can be given a singular bonus point, bringing the possible total up to 10, because I really like the idea of a panel of three judges with the cards that say 10. You know the one.
Yeah.
You know what we're aiming for here.
Yeah.
Everyone gets it. This is also just kind of like I'm not going to demand that everybody show their work when you give a movie a number score, frankly, because that would be silly, and we're trying to have a good time here.
Oh, but I don't have scratch paper.
I also don't have scratch paper, so you're just gonna have to feel my number score. Yeah, so I think that just about covers the rubric. We've each prepared a PowerPoint presentation in defense of our respective movie, and I believe we are starting with the ever illustrious Blue.
Yes.
Would you like to take it away?
So, for my choice of my favorite Christmas movie, I have selected Dr. Seuss's How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Statistically, probably the first Christmas movie I ever saw. And I clearly got started in the right spot because this is a fun movie, it is a festive movie, and it absolutely imparts the true meaning of Christmas upon the viewer.
Glorious.
Question: Which edition are we using?
The good one from 1966. the only one that is of viewing worth.
I'm just asking for clarification for
Valid.
our listeners at home.
Essentially, the plot beginneth thusly. Up in the mountains of somewhere not entirely clear, there is a place called Whoville, where a lovely little group of people called the Whos are getting ready for Christmas, getting ready for the big old day, setting up decorations and singing, having a just wonderful old time. And it's funny because the pure variety of Christmas contraptions that these guys have is really something else. Because it's Dr. Seuss, it's fun, it's festive, it's over the top, it's all kind of ridiculous stuff. They're just having fun. They're riding on a double-decker bicycle that's also a trumpet, and they have an entire band on it. It's fun, it's silly, it's great. Kids love that shit. So the one person who doesn't love that is the Grinch, who is a big fuzzy green man who lives up on the top of the mountain. He hates Christmas because his heart is 2 sizes too small, his head's not screwed on just right, and maybe there's a tragic element of his backstory that involves Christmas, not entirely clear, but he hates the noise. The noise of those Whos getting ready for Christmas, singing, having a good time, it's terrible, and he can't stand it. His adorable dog, Max, kind of likes Christmas. Max is chill. Max seems to be on board with it, but the Grinch does not want any of this stuff to happen. So, he has to stop Christmas from coming. Somehow he's gotta. But how? What's he gonna do? Well, you see, viewers, this is a heist movie. So the plan is that the Grinch will make a Santa Claus costume to sneak into Whoville and steal all of the presents, just get him out of the town and leave the whole place barren.
Love a good heist.
It's great because it sets up the fun of the heistiness of this movie, because just steal the Christmas presents. Obviously, if you're a mustache twirling bad guy, that's like the complete, perfect, ridiculous plan you would come up with in this situation.
Very fun.
So, he makes his costume. We love a crafting montage, and he goes on down, takes his sleigh with his dog Max, who he dresses up to look like a reindeer. It's adorable. Slides into Whoville in the dead of night, gets ready to start heisting up some stuff. So he goes into the houses, starts ripping out decorations, clears out the fridge, takes all the presents. He puts it all in bags and tosses it up and out the chimney with such efficiency that you get the sense that the Grinch could run a very good moving company with his expertise in getting things out of a place very quickly.
But does he break anything?
He doesn't break anything. No, he doesn't. He doesn't smash stuff up. He just stuffs it in a bag and throws it up out the chimney. That actually will become plot relevant later, Cyan. So thank you for asking. But it's very silly because he's just like heisting everything up. He's slithering around. He's like having a big old time. He's clearing out the fridge. He's doing stuff. And the music that plays is a song called "You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch," which is just the most fun song ever, because for me, I like it. It's a pure like baritone bass song. It's really down in that deep low register, but it's fun because it's just the narrator singing about how much of a terrible, awful person the Grinch is, with such lines as "You're a foul one, Mr. Grinch. You have termites in your smile. You have all the tender sweetness of a seasick crocodile, Mr. Grinch. Given the choice between the two of you, I'd take the seasick crocodile." And of course, my favorite, the three words that best describe you are as follows, and I quote, "Stink, stank, stunk." Love it. So evocative, so direct to the point. And another just beautiful mental image. "Your soul is an appalling dump heap overflowing with the most disgraceful assortment of rubbish imaginable, mangled up in tangled up knots." The pure lyricism on display in this song at least bumps the movie up like 3 points. It's just such a fun musical number that the entire movie is based around. The crafting montage has the song. The heist sequence has this song. It's so fun because it's a villain movie, and you just get to revel in how much of a pure evil villain the Grinch is, and that just makes it a real fun song. So the heist is going great until one thing goes wrong. When he was trying to stuff the tree up the chimney to get it out of there, an ornament falls off, rolls away, and it wakes up little Cindy Lou Who, who's like, "Hey, Santa Claus, why are you stealing all of our stuff?" And the Grinch is like, you see, I am Santa Claus, and I'm taking the tree to my workshop to fix it. I also stole the rest of your stuff, but don't mind that. So she's like, okay, because she's 2 years old, she goes back to sleep. And with all the Christmas presents bagged up, he rides his sleigh up to the top of Mount Crumpet, which is a very funny name for a mountain, to dump all of the Christmas presents off the edge and complete his heist and a very large amount of property damage. So finally, then, the climax of the movie, reveling in the drama of how much fun it is to be bad, the Grinch, like, puts his hand up to his ear, goes to listen for the Who's to start crying and wailing about how all of their stuff is gone and Christmas was stolen. Definitely, like, the darkest part of the movie, because, like, he's stealing stuff, whatever, but he's like, yeah, I want to hear them realize, I want to hear the moment where they realize that Christmas isn't coming, which is super horrible. But to his surprise, what he hears is not the wails and lamentations of the Who's Who women and Who children, but singing, which, like, the Grinch is surprised. The Who's would have done it anyway, though, is the thing. So even without the presents, Christmas still came. They're singing. They're fa who flores da who dores. Don't get me copyright claims. And as they're just like singing, you know, joining hand to hand, having a good old time, even without all of their stuff. The town is ransacked by this point. It's like there's a magical light that shows up where the tree would have been, and then when the Grinch realizes that Christmas still came, even without ribbons, tags, packages, boxes, or bags, it's like, oh, wait a minute, maybe Christmas isn't stuff. Maybe it's like something deeper. Maybe the true meaning of Christmas is a spirit of togetherness and gladness that is independent of having the nice stuff. So while he's having this moment of personal revelation and character growth, the sleigh's about to fall off the cliff because he parked it up there and he didn't, like, secure it in any way, so it's about to fall off, and he's like, oh, he goes to grab it, but it's really, really heavy because it's a huge-ass sleigh full of a ton of presents sliding off a mountain, but just in time to save the day, because he has realized the true meaning of Christmas, his heart grows 3 sizes, and then he gets super strength, because apparently the true meaning of Christmas gives you superpowers in this universe, which rules. So he saves the presents, he rides them into town, gives everybody their stuff back, everybody has a grand old time, the Grinch even carves up the roast beast, everyone's like, oh wow, Christmas is saved, thank you Grinch, and it's nice, because it ends with the narrator explaining all of the stuff, and it's, you know, Christmas Day is in our grasp so long as we have hands to clasp, and that's one of the lines in the song. And now it's like, haha, it's the moral of the story. So it's cool because it's literally the people that make Christmas. It's not the stuff. And we all kind of know this, but like, do we really know this? So it's clear that the message is about the joy and the togetherness of Christmas more than anything else. There's even like a little bit of like sneaky Christian theology about redemption. That's neat. But I don't know if that one's intentional, but I like the movie a lot because it's so direct and to the point. It's only like 25 minutes long. It's so fun. It's a villain movie. It's a heist movie. It's got musical numbers. It's about stealing all the decorations and then unstealing them. And it tells you the true meaning of Christmas because the force of love and friendship redeems this horrible, awful person who's just like, Christmas, it's loud. And he's like, oh, wait, no, Christmas ain't half bad after all. So that's many words to explain why I love How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
Glorious.
Blue, I got a question for you. Now, I should
what's up?
be straight up. I've seen all of the movies we're talking about today, and I have strong opinions on all of them. But while The Grinch is certainly a Christmas classic, and Your Mean One, Mr. Grinch is a bop, you neglected to mention the other song in the movie, Dahu Doris, which might be the song that I hear as I'm fading out into my nightmares. And I'd like you to just defend that song for me right here. You know, when the Who's are singing their little Bahu Boris, Dahu Doris. Defend that for me, if you would.
Okay, this song is very integral to the plot of the movie because listening to a song like that makes you want to steal Christmas.
Okay, that's a fair rebuttal.
So what you're saying is that the audience is forced to undergo the reverse character development that the Grinch did. That doesn't sound very festive.
Wait.
So, Blue, follow-up question.
Uh-oh.
Follow-up question.
Yeah.
You said that the Who's seem to be having a perfectly fine Christmas without all the gifts, but yet it seems like the Who's... You also said that the Who's become very joyful and that Christmas is made all the better when the Grinch returns all their stuff. It still seems like Christmas is about all the things.
I mean, Christmas came anyway, and then the Grinch realized that because Christmas is a spirit of, like, niceness and family and togetherness, that it would be the right thing to save the presents and undo his evil ways. So, like, yes, it is about people, but also we can have him have his moment and do the right thing and, like, atone for his mistake and fix it.
This isn't about the Grinch's action, it's about the Who's action.
The Who's... They don't do anything. They just sleep. They're asleep for 90% of the runtime of the movie.
Yes, except for the part where they're awake, in which they are like, oh, I guess we're having Christmas anyway. And then they're like, oh, yay, look, everything is better because we got all of our gifts back.
I mean, they were gonna have a good time anyway, but then they also got their stuff.
Now, I will say, I have never actually seen this movie, but I did read the picture book quite a bit, to the point where I actually seem to remember a lot of the dialogue verbatim.
It's because the dialogue is verbatim from the book.
Yes, Dr. Seuss really nailed it on that one. But I do not recall a moment in the book where the Grinch develops superpowers from the true meaning of Christmas. Would you say this is a cinematic addition to the narrative?
Does the book not include the part where he lifts up the sleigh with his newfound strength from his heart growing 3 sizes? Because I haven't read the book, so I don't know.
I
It's
see.
kind of implied. It's not as dramatic in the book as it is in the... It's kind of like the sleigh is on the cliff, and then he just kind of goes back down.
Yeah,
There's
he
not
just
like
goes.
the dramatic, like, oh no, it's about to fall.
You gotta ham it up for the silver screen. That's showbiz.
Do ya? Well, I guess. I'm just... all I recall from the book is that he thinks, like, maybe Christmas, he thought, doesn't come from a store. Maybe Christmas, perhaps, means a little bit more.
Yep.
And that's all I
in the
remember. I don't
movie.
remember any superpowers.
That's there, yeah.
Okay, cool, awesome.
Yeah.
All right, so they spiced it up a little bit. I can respect that, I guess.
Respect the fans.
Now,
All
given
right.
your questions, I feel like I have not done a very good job of convincing any of you that this is a good movie.
No, it's a wonderful movie. We're just being hard on you.
Yeah, the
I
point is to
grew
play
up
devil's
watching
advocate.
this movie every holiday season. This is like one of my dad's
Yeah.
favorite movies. My like 6th grade choir at school, we all had to sing "You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch," and they made the one kid whose voice had dropped to do all of the narration parts.
Yeah, that
Shout
was
out
me.
to him.
In my choir, that was me, yeah. I always
Yeah.
did the 3 words that best describe you are as follows, and I quote, and then we sang the stink, stink, stink. But yeah, no, that was me.
yes.
That was me.
Yeah, no.
Great
It's a
song for a bass.
It's a wonderful movie. Everyone's just seen it, so we have to ask you the hard question.
I
Yeah, and
have
I've got to
seen
get
it.
put on blast for the sake of analytical rigor.
Yeah. So,
Yes.
okay, I think we can certainly agree that in the festiveness category, it's top ranking. It's got
Do we
it's got
all
the
agree on
aesthetic.
that?
Well, I'll put forward my assessment then that I believe
Yes.
that the way you've described it, the festiveness of that movie is not in question. It's got not only the standard Christmas levels of festivities, but in fact, it's got Dr. Seuss design sensibilities, which automatically ups the whimsy level. So I'm prepared to give this one the coveted bonus point and assign it 4 for the festive category, leaving the other 2, fun and true meaning of Christmas. Now, it does also sound like it does indeed fulfill the requirement of imparting the true meaning of Christmas upon the viewer, in that it is about how Christmas is not in the capitalism or the presents and such, but it is in fact in the hearts and minds of those who celebrate, which I'm prepared to give 3 points for, completely honestly. But I don't know if I've quite been convinced that it sounds super fun to watch every year. It sounds fun to watch maybe once, but... And I feel like I can't really weigh in on this because I've never felt the need to watch this movie. So perhaps for me, the fun category is where it's slipping a little bit.
You know, Red,
I'll take
I
those scores. That's valid.
I tend to agree with you on the festive and the true meaning of Christmas. I'd give it 3s in both categories. I think it certainly fulfills those requirements. But I'm kind of with you on the fun. I did grow up watching this movie every year, and while it is certainly a delightful jaunt, it's only really fun on levels that a lot of classic movies tend to be fun on, of nostalgia and everyone being in on it at the same time. And so I'm not sure if through your argument you've convinced me that retroactively it is actually a very fun watch. It's festive, it definitely imparts the true meaning of Christmas, but that third category is where I think I might have to bump you to a 1.
I respectfully accept your score.
Yeah, I was thinking a 1 too, so that would bring my total score up to a very solid 8. A respectable.
I have a couple differences.
Okay.
Couple differences.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So, I was gonna say, is it festive? You know, I think it's pretty festive. However, having watched this movie a decent amount, it's pretty festive, but I just don't like the Who's Christmas bit is kind of overdone, and I'm not really getting the Christmas festiveness that I kind of feel for Christmas, so I was going to give it a 2. Like, yes, it's there.
That's very fair.
Wasn't super feeling it. However, I was also going to give it a 2 for is it fun, because I actually really enjoy it. I love, like, rhyming things, as Blue well knows.
Yeah.
I'm a sucker for rhyming things.
Very Dr. Seussy poetic.
I was going to give it a 2 for that, because that just makes me happy. And the reason I was, like, bugging you on the does it impart the true meaning of Christmas is because I was deciding if I was going to give you the 3 or the coveted 4, and I think you made an argument for the coveted 4.
Oh, wow,
so
thank
I
you.
was going to give you the 4 for doesn't impart the true meaning of Christmas, because I really think it does, so I would give you an 8 as well.
Thank you. No, I see what you were going for there.
Yeah, no, I was asking you the hard questions for a reason, not because I was trying to give you like a 1 or a 2. I was trying between the 3 and the 4 here.
We push you because we believe in you.
I was trying to see if you thought you were worth it.
All right.
All right,
well,
so it sounds... Yeah,
I will accept
a 7,
those
an 8, and an 8.
Nice. Not too
right,
bad
not
for our
bad.
first contestant.
Woo!
Woo!
And now, stepping up to the plate,
Now for a complete tone shift.
a complete tone shift. Our next lovely contestant for the night is Indigo.
Oh boy. I make pitch decks for a living, so this was fun for me.
I love it.
So let's talk about how Love's Not Dead, it's just out of season. A defense of the holiday rom-com. This will be a case study using The Night Before Christmas as sort of an example, and I know that the assignment was to defend one movie, but I think we could do better than that, and that's why I'll be defending not only The Night Before Christmas, but all holiday-themed romantic comedies. And of course, I am Indigo. I have a Bachelor's of Science in Film and Television, and I'm a movie podcaster, and also I made a Venn diagram of my favorite cartoon characters to kind of see if there were any trends, so you can guess how this is gonna go. Now, before we even get into the plot of The Night Before Christmas, we have to ask ourselves, how do we define the Christmas movie? I would
God,
argue
I thought you were
that...
going to say Christmas. Oh my god, thank you. I was really worried there for a second. Sorry, I won't interrupt.
No.
Carry on.
Oh no.
I would argue what differentiates these movies from others with similar release dates or genres is festivity. Now, festivity is a bit of an abstract concept, but in the case of holiday movies, I think there's a clear way to define it. the intersections of feelings and flavor. Feelings are key here, as said in 1947's Miracle on 34th Street. Christmas isn't just a day, it's a state of mind, and that statement is the crux of all holiday movies. Without the associated feelings we have for Christmas, there would be no reason to make a holiday movie. Feelings are the reasoning behind why we're telling these stories at all. Now, there are specific feelings I believe are most emblematic of the holiday, but we'll touch on those later. For now, the feelings category can be understood as the thematic elements of the movie. Looking at our chart here, you'll see that it includes things like character dynamics and story beats, stuff that you just can't point at on screen, but is still present nonetheless. Feelings alone, however, are not enough. In order to focus your audience on the Christmas of it all, you can't just make them feel warm and fuzzy. There are, frankly, other genres that produce those same feelings, which is why flavor is so important when defining a Christmas or holiday movie. Flavor is all those little things that we can point to on the screen, production design, incorporating common symbols like trees, snow, stockings, etc., and the inclusion of holiday songs on soundtracks, as well as keywords like merry or any quote from It's a Wonderful Life or A Christmas Carol that indicates to your audience that these feelings are tied to a specific time of year. You can actually use this to unsettle your audience on its own. In 2015's London Road, Christmas symbolism adorns the screen of a tense psychological drama. Here, with flavor in the absence of feelings, the familiar is used to confuse and alarm the audience, as opposed to a proper Christmas movie where flavor and feelings combine to create a festive viewing experience. In short, you need both feelings and flavor applied in earnest to create the perfect holiday movie. Now that we understand what we're looking for, let's run through a brief summary of the plot of The Night Before Christmas, our case study, if you will. The core plot, or A-plot, of The Night Before Christmas follows our main duo, Sir Cole, a 14th century knight transported via magic to modern-day small-town Ohio, and Brooke, the kind modern-day Ohioan played by Vanessa Hudgens, as again, this is an entry into the Vanessa Hudgens cinematic universe, as we are, I'm sure, all familiar with.
Good.
Who plays Sir Cole?
Well, what an
matter.
excellent
It's not
question.
Vanessa Hudgens.
We pull up the IMDb page for The Night Before Christmas.
The Vanessa Hudgens cinematic universe is my second favorite after the Gretchen Wiener cinematic universe.
Josh Whitehouse plays Sir Cole.
Okay.
Do you know who that is?
No.
Do you know who that is, Blue? Okay.
No.
Great. Well, he finds... he is a knight in Norwich, England in the 14th century, and he finds himself transported to the future when he comes upon an old crone in the woods who tells him he has until midnight Christmas Eve to complete his quest. Although crucially, and this is again the crux of the whole movie, he does not know what that quest is. Arriving in Ohio, he finds himself a fish out of water surrounded by all sorts of wacky modern stuff in a sort of like pop-up Christmas village. As he stumbles out onto the street, Brooke, driving in a very low visibility storm, hits him with her car. Luckily, he was wearing the armor.
The Thor School of Meat Cutes.
I probably dented her car.
Red, I'm so glad you mentioned Thor, because this character is so much the Thor character.
Well, I'm convinced.
Thinking that he has memory loss, and that's why he talks like a 14th century knight, Brooke kindly agrees to take Sir Cole in, and so begins their slow burn in screen time, rapid fire in actual daytime romance. As he learns to adapt to the 21st century, Sir Cole also helps Brooke come out of her shell and embrace some sad memories in her past, learning to love again. He does many great deeds, such as saving Brooke's niece from an icy lake and stopping a pickpocket, as well as just being generally helpful, but he remains sure none of this is his quest. Sir Cole is baffled by what his quest could be. What could the old crone have meant? Until, with a loving look towards Brooke at the end of the movie Christmas Feast, he realizes that she was his quest all along. The two admit how they feel about each other, and having completed his quest, Sir Cole is magically transported back to the 14th century on Christmas Eve, just in time for his brother's knighting ceremony. It seems as though these two are a classic case of right person, wrong century, but Cole, determined not to lose Brooke, gives up his familiar life, tracks down the old crone in the woods, and begs her to return him to the future. Seeing his devotion to true love, she grants his request, and Sir Cole, this time accompanied by Sherwin the horse, returns to the Christmas village just in time to catch Brooke there, and they ride off as everyone around them cheers into a dark winter's night in a random piece of woods in Ohio. It's beautiful.
Good?
I already have several questions.
Where are they going?
I
We're
assume.
not even done. You have so
Oh,
many.
no.
What was the crone's plan?
That was the
Do
A
they
plot,
have a
but
coat? Does Brooke have a coat?
yes, she is
she's
appropriately
your
dressed
quest.
for the
Once you
Ohio
fulfill-
winter.
Okay, that's something. But like
England
the
is
Crone's
a
like
lot
your
warmer
quest.
than Ohio.
Depends on where.
But okay,
Yes.
okay. So the Crone sends him to the future to fulfill a quest, and the quest turns out
Red,
to be
Red,
Brooke.
she has so many more slides.
Oh no! Fine, I'll sit on my plot hole ding counter while you go.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned plot holes, because there's not just one plot to this movie. Like many, it has a series of B-plots that are kind of shorter stories playing out in the background with some of the side characters that really flesh out the world of The Night Before Christmas. I've collected a few of the B-plots to run through here, and let's just jump right in. So one of them is, of course, Brooke. Her profession is teacher to either middle or high schoolers. It's kind of hard to tell. She gives some advice to one heartbroken student that they should focus on their own goals rather than waiting around for true love, because there's no real knight in shining armor. That's a fairy tale, of course. Haha. She will later revise this statement. They do a lot of cutaways to the young student where she, like, looks really suspicious of, like, Cole or just, like, her teacher's weird emotional fluctuations in the middle of the town square. It's very funny. I love this student character. Brooke's niece requests a puppy from Santa, but all the adults in her life don't seem to be on board. Despite this, she still finds a puppy waiting for her under the tree Christmas morning, even though neither Brooke, her sister, or her brother-in-law got the puppy. The gang chalks it up to Christmas magic, and Brooke uses it as evidence of the possibility of time travel. Perhaps the most prevalent B-plot is the tale of David, a single father raising 4 kids. He holds down 2 jobs just to keep a roof over their heads, and yet despite his hard times, still finds a moment to volunteer and help the community. Seeing his altruism, said community rallies together, and at the Christmas feast, they give his kids the new toys they asked Santa for, and David some money to help him get on his feet. A much less important B-plot is Allison, a flirty neighbor who hits on Sir Cole a bunch, though to his credit, he never does more than politely decline her. She eventually backs off, but the actress who plays her had a lot of verve, and I really wanted to give her a shout-out. Finally, Cole's various acts of casual heroism attract the attention of Officer Stevens, who suggests he become a cop himself, assuming that Cole can pass the psych eval, which, seeing as he is a 14th century knight and sticking to that story, seems unlikely. And this next slide is just a collection of screenshots of funny moments from this movie. They do an excellent job in this film of leveraging the inherent situational comedy of a 14th century man being stuck in 2019, while never crossing the line into cringy. Cole and everyone around him always react with kindness and curiosity as opposed to shame and otherness. The jokes are fun, they leave you feeling good.
Like, a cross between Zac Efron and Robert Pattinson.
That's what I was thinking of. Like, there's one of the two of them, and I wasn't sure which one.
He kind of looks like he was like lab grown to be the ideal boy band member.
They were like, oh my god, we need to find... Okay, it's Vanessa Hudgens. We got Vanessa Hudgens, so this is good. We need to find a guy. Well, we can't... This one looks too much like Zac Efron. Well, no, this one, it just looks like we're trying to be Twilight. Oh my gosh, we found him. We found the middle ground.
The best of both worlds.
Yes.
Sorry.
No, please. This
I
is
need to apologize for the truth.
This is above all else an academic presentation, and I intend for you to approach it with the same rigor that I applied to it. I just kind of want to touch on the comedy here because I do think that this movie does an excellent job of being very earnest but never cringy. It's always taking its concept incredibly seriously. The strength is carried by the acting chops of the cast, and of course their commitment to the bit. So, let's ask ourselves, now that we understand the movie that we're working with, is it a Christmas movie? Looking at flavor, it's a resounding yes. Candy canes and Christmas trees adorn every inch of the screen. The palette of this movie is reds, whites, and greens. There's a liberal amount of carols and other Christmas songs, and more unique to this movie is its scripted chyrons in the style of old illuminated script, as one might see on the pages of Classman's Christmas poem, The Night Before Christmas. But what about the feelings? Turning now to that, this is where we start to discuss not only The Night Before Christmas, but holiday rom-coms as a genre. At its core, the rom-com is about love. It is not, however, just about romantic love. As shown through the B-plots of The Night Before Christmas, love in many forms is celebrated throughout these films. Certainly, the A-plot will often focus on a couple and their love, but love of family, of community, and of humanity is prevalent throughout the background, filling in the gaps of this genre. When you apply these themes of love and care for your fellow man to the flavor of the holiday-specific rom-com, you get a film that epitomizes the emotional core of the season. What are the holidays for, if not being together with the ones you love? Whether that's family, friends, pets, your community, or yes, your romantic interest, a time-traveling knight from 14th century Norwich, England.
We've all been there.
Yeah, you know, a regular Tinder date. So let's unpack more of that. That perfect blend for festivity is what makes The Night Before Christmas and other holiday rom-coms the perfect Christmas movies. They leverage the imagery of the season to invoke the feeling of festivity and togetherness in the viewing audience, with plenty of room to do a little freestyling. There is a fantastic breadth of films in this genre, ranging from the near infinite Hallmark catalog to more highly produced features like 2003's Love Actually. Because these movies share a fundamentally very simple core theme, love, togetherness, they have a lot of room to play with the execution of that theme. I personally love The Night Before Christmas because it leverages a genuinely funny situation, adds elements of fantasy and magic, and somehow still invokes familiar sentiments. Other holiday rom-coms take different approaches. Some feature no magic at all, others change up the main duo's character dynamics, maybe they're enemies to lovers, maybe they're childhood friends. Others still create worlds entirely out of fantasy to play in. Think the North Pole, or anytime someone's job is something that no human being could ever accomplish, like, chopping logs in the back of an old cabin that seems to provide wood to nobody except said cabin. The holiday rom-com sandbox is vast. At the end of the 90-minute run times, though, the message is always the same. Value your time together with those you love this season. And really, isn't that what Christmas is all about? And that concludes this argument for the superiority of the holiday rom-com, an exceptional viewing experience that is The Night Before Christmas. Now, I had the advantage of knowing...
Feels like it isn't.
The question mark belies your statement, Indigo.
Yes. Now, I had the advantage of knowing who would be judging these presentations, and so for a little bonus round, I've concocted arguments meant to appeal to each of our judges specifically, so that they will have no choice but to recognize the beauty of The Night Before Christmas. Blue, you history lover you, wouldn't you like it if films you watched cared as much about history as you did? The Night Before Christmas doesn't just leverage time travel for comedy, but actually uses its man out of time to share with the audience fun historical facts and Christmas traditions. Cyan, there is a horse, the horse has a name, and is built higher than other human characters in the movie if you watch the credits. What? Red, I know the rom-com isn't a favorite genre of yours, but The Night Before Christmas does have many features in common with the type of media I do know you like. Anime. Much like the shoujo Inuyasha, Cole is transported via magic he does not understand into a world where he must leverage the power of friendship and love to persevere. There is no greater power-up than the power of human connections. Also, he has a sword, and he hits lawn ornaments with it. In conclusion, thank you for your time and your consideration. I will now be fielding any questions.
I'm docking you points for exposing me. Also, it's definitely shonen, thank you.
Debatable.
Wow.
Okay, first question.
People are gonna think
Yes.
I like horses. I just like that they have names.
For those of you at home, this is a very elaborate reference to our previous D&D game with our fencing friends.
I really like when D&D horses have names.
All right, okay.
Just gonna take a sip of
First
my
question.
eggnog before we... Yes, please.
The crone. What's her deal? And, like,
Yes.
why does her plan make no sense?
Well, she is an old crone, which, as we know, is a stock character dating back to Shakespearean dramas like Coriolanus, where the character of Volumnia is one of the original crone characters. And her role is mostly to cause problems for our young, hot protagonists. Which is why her plan doesn't necessarily need to make sense, it just needs to make trouble. What is more troublesome than sending a 14th century knight to 2019 small town Ohio?
But, like, his quest turns out to be, like, the romantic subplot, and then as soon as he succeeds, she's like, great, and, like, yoinks him back on the fishing line through time, and now
Yes.
there's no romantic subplot, so, like,
I should
it seems
clarify.
self-defeating.
Yes,
Okay.
I see the confusion. So, she does give him the quest, and in doing so, she hands him a magic amulet, which is how he actually is not explicitly stated, the magic system in this movie is left up to a little bit of interpretation, and I think that that's to its benefit. Spending too much time on the logistics of how the time travel works in this movie would have bogged down the plot. But he seems to be traveling via magic amulet rather than the old crone appearing and whipping him back in time, which is why he has to seek her out later in the movie at the very end in order to go back forward in time, having used up the amulet's sort of like activation, I guess.
Ah, okay.
So
Yes.
does he choose to go backwards in time? He's like, okay, peace, bye.
He does decide to go back in time, but it's with a heavy heart and full of regret. They have a scene where they say goodbye to each other as he's transported back in time. It's his goal throughout the movie up till that point has been to return. He has a younger brother who is getting knighted Christmas Day, and of course it's all he's ever known. So I think that there's a case to be made for why he would initially go back in time, but I give him credit for immediately realizing what he's lost and working actively to rectify said mistake. And also Vanessa Hudgens, aka Brooke, is along for the whole ride up and until the moment he goes back in time. So she also is a consenting partner in this situation and had the opportunity to voice complaints as they arose, and instead made her peace with their right person, wrong time situation.
That's fair. Secondary question.
Yes.
Where are they going? Like, I understand.
That is a question that has plagued me. I watched this movie 3 times this week. I have no idea where they ride off to. It seems to just be the
does
streets
she
of
live
Ohio.
out of town? Like, does
No.
she live in town?
She lives in a normal part of town. She's got a full house.
She got a house in
Yes,
this economy?
she inherited her parents' house when they passed away.
Ah.
Which is part of
okay,
her traumatic backstory that they unpack literally when they unbox boxes of ornaments to put on the tree that she hasn't opened since they died.
Good.
Oh,
Right.
symbolism.
Yes,
Nice.
exactly.
I don't have any questions. I'm ready to get into the scores here.
Alrighty.
So
Fire away.
I have to give this a 3 for fun, because this is an extremely fun
Thank you.
premise. It was designed to appeal to me, but it was also very clearly a movie that was written after the title "The Night Before Christmas."
Yes.
was written. It was written from the premise of, hey, what this pun. Let's run with this. This was written by a couple guys and girls drinking, having fun, like totally shooting the shit and thinking, wait a minute, I know we're shit posting here, but we have something.
Yeah.
So three's there. I will give this, for the festivity of this, I'm gonna give this a 4. It is clearly extremely festive, and the arguments that you made about the nature of the holiday rom-com all basically, in my mind, apply to this category of festivity. So I will give it a 4 for that, because you did a very good job of explaining it. I will give this a 2 on does this movie impart the true meaning of Christmas onto the viewer, if only because of the proximity that this movie has to the plot of Samurai Jack Season 5. And because of that association, it gets docked a point.
That's
fair.
entirely fair.
Understandable.
I am gonna give you a 3 for is it festive? I think it's pretty festive. I think it's very, very festive, but I don't think it's quite a 4 of festiveness. Just because it seems like it's more focused on, like, the relationship between the knight and the girl, and that only is, like, it's definitely around Christmas time, pretty festive in that regard, but not, like, that's not the focus. However, I will give it a 4 for being fun, mostly because the horse has a name. That bumped it up to a 4. But it was already going to be a 3 for being fun. However, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to give you a 1 on does it impart the true meaning of Christmas, because while I get it, the B plots do have to do with the meaning of Christmas. That's really not the A plots, and it seemed like only some of the B plots had to do with the true meaning of Christmas, and a lot of it was really just about this romance and true love. And I'm sorry, that doesn't really do that for me. True love, to me, is not the meaning of Christmas. It's just a romantic movie that takes place at Christmas, and it's still very festive and very fun, and that doesn't make it a bad movie, but it doesn't impart the true meaning of Christmas for me personally. So
Yeah.
that's an 8 from me.
Yeah,
overall.
total score of 8, still good,
Yeah.
still good. 1-9,
I'm
1-8.
actually, I'm inclined to agree on the true meaning of Christmas assessment, just because, like, to me it seems like the true meaning of Christmas is a degree of togetherness, and the fact that in the end the knight has to choose between, like, his family and loved ones and all he's ever known and, like, the love of his life. Like, that, the fact that he has to choose, to me, makes me feel like that's almost undermining the true meaning of Christmas. So I would give that, in actuality, a 1 for true meaning of Christmas impartation. But it does sound extremely fun. So I will, in fact, give it the coveted 4 in the fun slot. And in terms of festivity, I will say it looks very, very, like, decorated. It's got the snow, it's got the ornaments and the lights. It takes place in a Christmas village. There's at least one Santa. I think that it definitely fulfills the festiveness quota, but I don't think it necessarily, like, super excels at it. So for that, I can give it the 3, I think. So that brings my score to 8.
So 2 8s and a 9.
2 8s and a
Yes.
9.
Not too bad.
Thanks, gang.
Good.
And that brings us to me. I get to
Yes,
go now.
our next lovely contestant.
I don't make slide decks for a living, but I make a lot of slide decks. However, I usually have to use a company template, so I may have used a lot of pictures and emojis and stuff because I was very excited.
The one opportunity to go off script.
My one opportunity to not use a company provided template, I was very excited.
Incredible.
So the movie I picked was A Year Without a Santa Claus, or as some of you might know it, the one with Heat Miser and Snow Miser, because that's how my siblings and I refer to it. So this movie is rather old. It's from, I believe, 1977, but we'll just get right into it. So here's a brief summary. I'm sorry, I already messed up. It's a 1974. So A Year Without a Santa Claus. It's only 51 minutes. It's a stop-motion animated Christmas movie / musical, because there are a lot of songs in this, and it's made with puppets. So already off the bat, super fun. It's just very enjoyable. And it's also made better, for me at least, by the fact that we used to watch it every year in elementary school. And my siblings and I have watched it almost every year since, because they almost always play it on, like, either ABC Christmas or one of the other cable networks. So, very fun. So basically, the plot is Santa wakes up one morning with a cold. It's sometime before Christmas, probably in December. And his doctor comes and he takes his temperature and he's like, "Oh, you're sick. You probably never recovered from that last cold you had. You shouldn't even go out. Besides, no one even believes in you anymore. No one even believes in Christmas. By the way, Merry Christmas." And Santa's like, "Oh, you know, he's right." And Mrs. Claus is like, No, don't listen to him. He's just making you feel bad." And Santa's like, "Oh, no one believes in Santa anymore. They don't need me." And Mrs. Claus, you know, she can't convince him otherwise. So she sends out 2 elves, Jingle and Jangle, and Jingle's bell on his hat makes a jingle, and Jangle's bell makes a little jangle. And Vixen, who is a little baby reindeer in this version, to go find some good holiday cheer down outside of the North Pole. So she sends them through, but oh no, they fly right through Heat Miser and Snow Miser, who are pretty much just the embodiment of, like, heat and cold, who are brothers, and they're always fighting. And Vixen, being a baby, just flies right through them, and they get blasted down, and they end up in this small town called Southtown, USA.
One detail I would briefly like to point out is that not only is this a very elaborate Scylla and Charybdis reference, not really elaborate, but Heat Miser has an Archimedes death ray that he uses to shoot down Vixen, and I just need you all to recognize that is what Heat Miser is using, an Archimedes mirror death ray.
And
sorry, Cyan, continue.
Snow Miser has snowballs.
And it's Snow Miser snowballs.
But it's shown as an even fight. So just in case you were wondering, snowballs can take out Archimedes' death ray. But anyway, they fall down and they land in Southtown, USA. They end up walking around trying to find some Christmas cheer, but naturally they can't be seen with a reindeer, so they put their socks on Vixen, and their socks magically transform from striped socks to brown socks, but we're gonna ignore that. And they make Vixen look like a dog. But Vixen ends up getting taken, and taken to the pound. And when they try to get her back, they end up arrested. So basically, they end up trying to break Vixen out and are sent to the mayor. And when they speak to the mayor and try to explain this whole scenario, they're told Santa can have a holiday if it snows in the South. Well, that's not going to happen. So, Mrs. Claus and the 2 elves and this human friend they found, Iggy, go to ask Heat Miser and Snow Miser if they can make it snow in the South. And they, of course, being brothers that fight all the time, are like, absolutely not. So they go over their head to Mother Nature, who makes them agree. And eventually, they convince the Miser brothers, Heat Miser and Snow Miser, to get snow in Southtown, and Santa gets his holiday. And all the kids from around the world, instead of getting presents from Santa this year, they decide to chip in all their money and do whatever they can. They charter trains, they make presents if they can't afford them, and they ship all these presents up to Santa. And Santa is just so touched, especially when he receives a letter from a little girl that basically says, you know, it's okay, but, you know, I'm gonna miss you. And he realizes that all these kids who don't really have much, they're children, got presents for him. They made presents for him. They went out of their way to make sure he got a holiday, even though they'll miss him. And they really do believe in him, and they came together to still make it special for him, even though he kind of abandoned them. And suddenly he's like, you know what? No, I feel fine. Absolutely not. I'm gonna make Christmas. And everyone's like, oh, but you weren't feeling well. It's your holiday. He's like, nah, absolutely not. Get the sleigh ready. I'm going out. And it finishes with, you know, here comes Santa Claus, and he goes out and delivers presents anyway, surprising all the kids, and they're all very excited. So that's the summary of the plot. So just to recap, in case you've forgotten, our goals here are, is it fun, is it festive, and does it impart the true meaning of Christmas on the viewer? And as you can see, I'm used to business presentations, so we're going to go through this point by point by point.
This is already so pretty.
So fun! So number 1, is it fun? So let's start with the fact that the whole thing is puppets. What's not fun about that? So this right here, this is Jingle, head elf. And this is Jangle, number 2 elf. And this right here is little baby Vixen. And like I said, this is all stop motion. So this right here, these are the characters. And they move around like little puppets. It's adorable. So it's just very fun. It's cute, it's adorable, and they sing. Second, there is a ice and fire themed sibling rivalry. Super fun, super spicy. Again, this one has an Archimedes death ray. This one fights him off with snowballs. They each have their own coordinating musical number and miniature versions of their self that form dance lines. Ideal.
They clearly had this prepared in advance.
Yes,
they were waiting for someone to come visit them.
They were just waiting for people to visit them. And again, these are the embodiments of heat and snow. So, like, how many visitors do you think that they really get on a day-to-day basis? Not many, but yet they have choreographed dance numbers and miniature servants that look just like them, that have, like, hats and do little dances every time someone comes to visit as they're walking up. Super adorable. Because, as I mentioned already, it's a musical. As we know, musicals are the best version of animated movies. Don't come at me, Cats 2019.
It's not an animated movie. Come on.
Not even really animated.
That's an abomination.
So, musicals are the best version. There are about 10 unique songs, if we count the reprise of one of the songs, and 9 if you don't. And they're all sung, again, in this little stop-motion animated movie. It's just adorable. 10 out of 10.
That lineup of guys does look a little bit like the Dancing Mice in the Cats 2019 movie in that song.
A little bit.
Stop,
Sorry for bringing it up. Oh, and right here you can see the death ray. They put the death ray in this shot. So, in an earlier shot, he has this little death ray out, and is just, like, shooting across the clouds at Snow Miser, and Snow Miser's little minions are, like, hucking snowballs back at them. It's hysterical.
Seems fair.
And they use that to shoot down Vixen. Poor Vixen. So number 2, is it festive? Well, let's just start out with the fact that the whole movie is about Santa Claus. There's Santa, there's reindeers, there's elves, it snows in the south, they have a white Christmas, they sing Here Comes Santa Claus, all of it super duper festive, very fun. This is Iggy, by the way. I mentioned him earlier. He's their little human friend. It's also, one of the main plot points is about finding people who believe in Santa and the spirit of Christmas. Originally, Santa doesn't want to go out because he thinks no one believes. And throughout the movie, they make a point of showing samples of people believing in Santa, believing in the true meaning of Christmas. This screenshot right here is a whole song in which they sing about believing in Santa, and one of the main things is, like, believe in Santa Claus like you believe in love, and kind of, like, knowing that it's there, just waiting till you miss it. So, like, kind of just believing in something that, although you can't see it, you can feel it. And it's kind of meant as a bigger metaphor of Christmas as a whole and just your family around you, and knowing that even if you can't see it right there, it's there. And when it's not there, like when Santa decides to take a holiday, you feel that and you miss it. This is Iggy and his parents, by the way. And again, there are 10 total songs, all very festive, and in case you're doing Whamageddon, which Lou and I have already lost, it's all Wham free. It's a fun and Whamageddon
Last Christmas, listen to more Wham.
It's a fun and Whamageddon Save Christmas playlist for the whole family. Super fun, super festive, and just overall very great. Apparently I left this picture as Jingle Jangle.
That's okay. Still works.
It's okay.
And number 3, does it impart the true meaning of Christmas on the viewer? I'm gonna say yeah. It focuses right from the start about coming together. One of the big plot points is the Miser brothers coming together and compromising because Snow Miser has to agree in order for Heat Miser to allow snow in Southtown so Santa can have a holiday. Snow Miser needs to allow Heat Miser to let a spring day happen in the North Pole. Don't worry. It was the 70s. We didn't really think about global warming then. It's fine. It's fine. Everything's fine. It's just for one day. It's fine. Don't worry about it. And their mom encourages them to compromise and cooperate and come together. She said, especially this time of year, if we could all show some Christmas spirit and come together as a family. And they eventually agree to compromise to allow Santa to have his holiday, and they do get that snow in Southtown. And then all the children come together, and you can see all people from all around the world. They bring their presents together. They make what they can. Again, one of the lines is, children without a penny to spare wrote letters to let Santa know that they cared. And so, like, all these kids broke up in their piggy banks, took toys that they had and wrapped them up and brought them to Santa just to make a special year for him, because he pretty much said, you know, guys, I need a break. And they said, it's okay. We can make Christmas happen for you. And it's focused on giving to others versus, like, being selfish and taking care of yourself, which I think is very important around Christmas. And again, it's not about leaving your fulfilling life to live with a lumberjack at Hallmark movies. Sorry, Indigo, I know you just did a whole new thing on this. We've had enough movies about professional women who had everything except a man, and thus she is sad. But thankfully, there's a tree farmer in a small town that will save the day, and she will just drop everything and leave her wonderful, fulfilling life and just move to the countryside with nary a plan in the world.
Did someone call for an Archimedes death ray? Because I think some shots were just fired.
I'm sorry. I had to be done.
Don't apologize for the truth.
To be fair, in Indigo's, the man left. It wasn't a professional woman who...
Yeah, I think if you look at the breadth of holiday rom-coms, you really see that there's a variety of stories being told, but I would be lying if there was a non-zero amount. That was pretty much what's on that slide.
So anyway, is it fun? Is it festive? Does it impart the true meaning of Christmas upon the viewer? I'd say yes.
I'm so impressed by the sheer breadth of emojis you found for this.
Clip art is really on point here.
Was there like a Christmas slideshow preset somewhere? Or
kind of, yeah.
Wow.
All right, does anyone have questions?
I mean, I'm honestly ready to give my scores right now. That was a very convincing and professional presentation, but there are questions.
So you said that the kids came together to make gifts for Santa. What do you think that this movie is saying about child labor laws and how they should be applied broadly across the world?
Yeah, so I think in a case like this, children should be allowed to volunteer their time for causes that they think are worthwhile. I don't think we should discourage children from volunteering when they feel like it's worthwhile. I think we shouldn't force children to do labor, and I don't think children should be forced to work long hours, and I don't think we should make a society in which families are forced to rely on their children to keep their family afloat. However, if a child wants to make a Christmas present for someone, I think they should be allowed to do that.
That's chill. That much is chill.
Yeah. Now, what do you think it says about Santa's work ethic, that even though he clearly was still recovering from a long illness, he pushed himself possibly beyond his means?
Yeah, do you think this is a commentary on, like, burnout, possibly?
Or capitalism driving us beyond our limits?
I think so. I think so, you know, especially in the beginning when his doctor says, you know, that he probably hadn't recovered, that maybe he should take some time off. But I think it's really more that he was feeling more of a mental illness. He was feeling discouraged because towards the end, when he was feeling inspired, he felt better. And it really seemed less like a physical ailment, because every time that he was inspired to action, for example, when he realized Vixen, the baby reindeer, was out in Southtown, he was like, oh, I'm gonna go get her. And Mrs. Claus is like, oh, no, but you're not feeling well. He's like, oh, no, it's fine, I got it. When he had motivation, he felt okay. It seemed mostly when he was discouraged that he kind of was feeling down. So this seemed more like a mental health issue than a physical health issue, but they are very closely related.
It's like being down to the dumps, like psychosomatically presenting as a sore back.
Well, but both of them tend to be, very interspersed. I think he needs a more comprehensive care team than just one doctor that shows up to his house and takes a temperature. He probably
doesn't believe in Christmas.
Yeah, he probably needs a more comprehensive care team of both a mental health professional and maybe a couple different specialists.
Gotcha, did the doctor live at the North Pole, or did they get the doctor from somewhere else? Okay, so then if the doctor lived at the North Pole, why didn't he believe in Christmas?
No, he believed in Christmas. He didn't believe that other people believed in Christmas.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if he's treating Santa Claus.
Yeah,
treating Santa.
This is my movie, not yours. He said that other people didn't believe in Santa Claus. He obviously believed in Santa Claus, and he even wished Santa a Merry Christmas.
Okay, all right. Well, I think I'm definitely sold on it presenting the true meaning of Christmas. I think that, in fact, it has a more wholesome than most message about the true meaning of Christmas, seeing, like, it kind of kicks it up to a new level by having it be that even Santa needs Christmas, and that's just kind of, that Ouroboroses into something very sweet and sort of circular. I love the idea of the children of the world getting together to send presents to Santa, so I'm prepared to give that a 4, in terms of true meaning of Christmasness. In terms of fun, it also sounds exceedingly fun. I've heard some of the songs from this movie, though I have not, in fact, sat down to watch the whole thing. And I do know that Heat Miser and Snow Miser are absolute bangers.
Total bops.
So, yeah, so in terms of just raw fun, prepared to give that one a 3. The festivity, I am actually a little bit torn because it seems like a lot of the movie takes place in a purposefully unfestive environment. And it's only in the end that it resolves into a fully festive situation but at the same time, I don't know if I can fault the movie for essentially introducing the concept of festivity as the stakes of the movie, essentially, that the conflict is in resolving it and allowing festivity to come to this southern town. So even if it's not super festive for the middle part of the movie, I can't decide if I should give this a 2 or a 3. Because centralizing the concept of festivity might make up for the fact that it's actively unfestive for large swaths of it. So I'm not super sure yet. It's either going to be a 9 or a 10, but I haven't decided which one is which.
That is your call.
Yes.
That's very fair. I did really enjoy this movie. The one thing that stops me from giving it a perfect 10 is just feeling like the thing with Santa, like, he's feeling really overworked. And then he's like, you know what, maybe I'm going to take a break. And he's like, you know what, I'm not going to take a break. That hits just a little too close to home, so that's what stops me from giving this a 4 on True Meaning of Christmas. But the idea that, like, even Santa needs Christmas is very important, because a lot of Christmas movies have Santa, but very few movies are about Santa and what Santa actually means. Usually Christmas movies with Santa are just a Santa ex machina, so I think this definitely gets a 3 on True Meaning of Christmas, but personal weirdness stops it from being a 4. Meanwhile, I do think that the lack of festivity is made up for by the fact that the idea of trying to find the festivity is so important. So even if it's not present, it is vital to the movie working as well as it does. So I will give that a 3. And of course, it's puppets, it's a musical. Heat Miser has an Archimedes death ray that was probably given to him by an oil company. I'll give it a nice solid 3s across the board.
Nice.
I might be the naysayer of this group. This movie is fun by far. I'm giving it a 3 in fun. I love it. I mean, I've seen this and the other entries in the puppet claymation combo. This is like what Rudolph and Santa Claus come to town. This is probably my least favorite of those 3, but I think it is. The songs are still bangers, and like you made a lot of great arguments for why it is very fun. Kind of the same point with the festivity that everyone else is hitting on here, because it is so much about Christmas not coming. There is an element of the festivity that's missing. But since it's intentional, I think that can kind of waver, so I'm going to give it a 2 in festivity. And I think the true meaning of Christmas is knocked for me because there is all the kids coming together. I love, like, that idea of working together to give Santa the gifts is excellent. I think that gets at the crux of, like, togetherness and bonding for the holidays, but the raw sibling rivalry that permeates 90% of the movie, even though it eventually gets resolved, it's just too distracting from the, like, otherwise very coherent narrative of, like, we're all gonna come together for Santa, and I think that kind of takes away from the Christmasness of it for me, because so much of the movie is about that conflict, and it does resolve itself by the end, but I think I'm gonna knock that down to a 2 in that category, for me.
Okay, so that's 7 from you.
Yeah.
7 points total? Okay. I'm sitting mine at a 9.5, I think. I can't decide on that last one, so just to make things simpler. Well, fantastic. Let me figure out how to screencast my thing.
And so it ends. The final player enters the stage, pursued by the Christmas spirit.
All right. So, the movie I have selected for the Christmas movie showdown, perhaps unsurprisingly, is Die Hard. Because, you know me, I like a good argument, and a lot of people act like this ain't a Christmas movie, and those people are wrong. But we'll get to that slide. Now today, I will hopefully explain why the 1988 action movie Die Hard is in fact the superior Christmas movie, and why there's nothing more in the spirit of the holiday season than Bruce Willis murdering people. Alright, now, the general gist of this movie is that there is an emotional framing sequence, and then the middle hour and a half of this movie is almost non-stop action. So most of the Christmassy stuff is sort of on the outside. It is Christmas Eve in California, and John McClane, hard-boiled New York police detective, has just arrived on a flight into the city with a oversized teddy bear in an attempt to win back his semi-estranged wife, who we learn over the course of the movie is estranged basically because John could not really reconcile the fact that she had a really good career opportunity out on the West Coast, and, you know, that was equally as important to her as their relationship. So while he is a New York police detective and thus cannot easily uproot himself and go to the West Coast, he stayed in New York while his wife and kids came to California. And he's not very happy about that situation, and as it turns out, the main emotional theme of this movie is not that the wife must choose between her career and her family, but that John must choose between his career and his family, sort of. But we'll get there, because that potential inspiration for a Hollywood rom-com is undercut somewhat by the hostile hostage situation takeover that happens in the building for the middle hour and a half of this movie. Leaving John McClane, the only person not hostage, running around trying to foil the bad guy's plans and not die, and get help for the crisis situation. It's also important to note that while he is running around in the building, his wife is one of the hostages, but actually she's doing an extremely good job of, like, keeping the situation under control and preventing the bad guys from learning that she is the wife of the guy who keeps foiling all their plans. So it's a really good illustration of how they actually do work extremely well together, and that she is a very smart and, like, tactically minded person who's quite good at the business world. We'll get to Holly, trust me, she's important. Basically, the middle 2 hours of this movie are just non-stop action and fun. Like, there's individual plot beats that are kind of important. John kills a guy early on, and the guy's brother gets really mad about it and, like, turns into his nemesis for the rest of the movie. But, like, ultimately, it all kind of blends together into this sort of action-y cat-and-mouse mind games battle of wits between John McClane and the villainous Hans Gruber, played by the ever-delightful Alan Rickman, leading the bad guys, who initially pose themselves as terrorists, but in actuality are attempting to break into a vault on the lower level to steal a lot of money and untraceable bearer bonds, basically. And some people say that this isn't a Christmas movie, and those people are wrong. Now, the thematic core of this movie is John's wife, Holly. You may have noticed her name is a Christmas joke. Holly represents some theming in this movie. She essentially embodies things that are initially in opposition to John. When we first meet him in this movie, John is the first character we meet, and the way John is framed, he's a little bit despondent. He's out of his depth in California. He's clearly uncomfortable. He doesn't like the flight. He doesn't really like having to come here. He's got a really big present, and you're like, okay, so he's in trouble, or he's, like, trying to make nice with his wife. But then, the first time we see Holly, she's listing off Christmassy things, and then she goes into her office and sits in front of a huge desk covered in photos of her children and her husband. So, like, it becomes pretty clear pretty quickly that the problem is not Holly prioritizing her career over her family. So what is actually the problem? And we don't learn for a little while until John arrives, and they immediately start rehashing an argument they clearly had before when she moved out to the West Coast. And that argument is essentially that her taking this job put strain on their marriage, and her argument is that it didn't actually have to put strain on the marriage, it just changed John's idea of what their marriage had to be. They're sort of setting it up to look like John has to win over Holly, but in actuality, John needs to overcome his own internal pride to become close to Holly, and Holly thematically embodies the true meaning of Christmas. Now, I know this might be a bit of a stretch, but I have more evidence than just the fact that her name is Holly. Not much more evidence, but I promise it exists. So, John has a desire. Yes, John has a desire to reunite with Holly. It drives him throughout the movie, and Holly represents this family, this togetherness. She has successfully cultivated the work-life balance that John has failed to do. John wants to reunite with her, but he's struggling with his own pride. He has to sort of overcome his own hang-ups about... It's never explicitly stated that he's perhaps uncomfortable with his wife having such a successful career. It's not really implied that that's the problem, but it is possible that he feels uncomfortable with how much this matters to her compared to him. And again, sort of subverting the expectations they establish at the beginning of the movie when we're like, oh, they're estranged, I wonder what went wrong. It becomes clear from context early on that Holly's actually extremely proud of John and clearly talks about him to her boss and her coworkers, because when John shows up at the party, her boss, Mr. Takagi, introduces John as Holly's husband and Holly's policeman. So Holly clearly talks about him, doesn't hide the fact that they're married even though she's going by her maiden name, and is, like, proud of him and his accomplishments. But in the same scene, she is reluctant to show off her accomplishments to John. One of her coworkers tells her to show him this Rolex she'd just been given as a gift for, like, closing a big fancy business deal of some kind. And she's clearly uncomfortable. She doesn't want to show him, and John's also uncomfortable because while she's proud of him, she knows that he's not proud of her. And this is the ultimate tension that establishes the beginning of the movie. John wants to be reunited with Holly, but in his current state, he cannot really accept her for who she is. And as we've established, Holly thematically represents the true meaning of Christmas. The same thing applies there. John is essentially trying to be with his loved ones and his family without really having to acquiesce to their needs. And over the course of the hour-and-a-half action sequence that is the middle chunk of this movie, John undergoes character development through extreme amounts of stress and craziness and stuff like that, and essentially concludes that he's actually been a serious jerk and asks his cop friend on the outside to apologize to his wife on his behalf, and then later gets the chance to do it himself, because this is a good movie with a happy ending. But let's see, what is even on this screen? I haven't looked at my slides.
Also, there's a hostage crisis or something.
Yeah, there's also the hostage crisis, but, like, let's be real, all the Christmas theming is really in the dialogue, like, and the middle chunk where it's all action, there's not as much dialogue, so, you know, like, it's like an inverted bell curve. All the Christmas cheer is at the opposite ends of the movie. Yes, it is a Christmas movie. The movie never lets you forget this. It takes place on Christmas Eve. John makes a number of Christmas jokes, some of them morbid, involving dead bad guys. As previously established, the central emotional conflict centering on John and Holly reuniting and then maybe getting to be with their kids on Christmas. That's kind of the entire core driving emotional impetus of the movie. So it centers on a very Christmassy theme. The soundtrack uses several diegetic Christmas songs, starting with Christmas in Hollis. Winter Wonderland shows up, somebody whistles Jingle Bells, and the bad guy theme is several variations on Ode to Joy, some of them stepped down or orchestrally, like, rearranged. It's actually very clever. Ode to Joy is not actually a Christmas song, but it gets used that way, just through, like, cultural osmosis, so I count it in Christmas movies' favor. And in the end, when the bearer bonds are destroyed and Alan Rickman falls out of a building, they all kind of snow down as, like, shredded paper, and it's very clearly meant to evoke the image of the White Christmas, even though it's happening in California, where it hasn't snowed in, like, 600 years. Now, to the points of our metric, I would argue that this movie is exceedingly fun. It's got a lot of high-octane action, stakes escalating organically. The stakes do still manage to feel grounded because the escalation is actually pretty reasonable. It happens in bursts, so as mentioned, it's sort of a cat-and-mouse mind game thing, and a lot of it is that Hans Gruber and John McClane are each sort of operating on however much information they can glean about the other person just through observations and the walkie-talkies they have. So Hans initially doesn't even know John's name, but outside of the hostage crisis, the media is slowly finding more information about him, including at one point revealing his full name and the identity of his wife, which gets them in a lot of trouble in the final act of the movie because Hans suddenly realizes he has an incredibly valuable hostage. So that's a lot of the fun of this movie. It's not just like non-stop action. There's a lot of very clever sort of cat and mouse back and forth, good stuff. There's also a lot of very fun dialogue, and it's all very much in character, which is actually a little tricky to do with like snappy quips. Sometimes it all kind of blends together. Doesn't in this movie. Is it festive? I would argue very much so. Perhaps in a non-traditional sense, but in the background of several shots, even the ones set in the unfinished parts of the building, there's occasional pits where you can see graffiti of like "Merry Christmas" stenciled on like the back wall of the dingy room they're having the fight scene in. There are a lot of decorations scattered throughout Nakatomi Plaza. John does at one point kill a guy and put a Santa hat on him and write more of a joke on his shirt. So, the festivity's present. I'll admit it's not traditionally festive by several metrics, but it's there, and they never really let you forget it. It starts with Christmas, it ends with Christmas, and there's Christmas all the way through. And does it impart the true meaning of Christmas? I would argue yes. Even without focusing too much on the central theme of John attempting to reunite with Holly and all that she embodies. It's got presents, festivities, capitalism, and being with your loved ones. As the driving force of the movie is Holly and John attempting to reunite and get home safely to be with their kids on Christmas Day. The bad guys are after money, which is a Christmas thing, let's be real. And yeah, I think overall the theming is very solid, and it's, even if it is an hour and a half long action scene in the middle, it never really lets you forget what exactly it's about. In seriousness, the fact that it keeps cutting back between what John is up to and what Hans is up to and what Holly is up to managing the crisis, it really doesn't let you forget, like, the point is these two getting together and how much they care about each other. There's one very funny bit where Holly pieces together that John must still be alive because one of the terrorists is very angry and only John can drive somebody that crazy, which is the most loving statement I've ever heard.
That's pretty funny.
And in conclusion, yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker. So, any questions?
Yeah, so you kind of circling around to the festivity things. I won't deny that there's definitely a lot of Christmas items in this movie, but as I mentioned during my presentation, I think festivity comes from both flavor and feelings. How do you think this movie imparts the feelings of Christmas onto the viewer? Like, obviously they've got the imagery there, but what about that second half of festivity?
Well, I'll admit that this is actually a bit of a sticking point, because a major theme in this movie is that John McClane is very much outside of his comfort zone, and a large part of that is that he is in California on Christmas, which means it's hot, there's palm trees, there's no snow, it's warm. The Christmas party that is happening is somewhat festive, but at the same time, it's completely uncomfortable for him in other ways. It's fancy. They've got like a little, like a classical orchestra up in the corner playing Ode to Joy on violins, and he's just like the rattiest person in the room. So essentially, John McClane's discomfort with the situation he's in is sort of meant to represent that he's feeling separated from the familial comfort that he associates with Christmas. And at the same time, Holly is meant to sort of embody those things, but we don't really get to see that. We see her on the phone with her kids discussing that, the next day they'll be together for Christmas, it'll be very festive and great and ideal, and presumably that does happen after the end of the movie, but we don't really get to see that much because the central conflict of the movie is the tension between John and Holly and his inability to reunite with her and incite the festive, happy family Christmas situation. But that said, they do sort of make up for this with the soundtrack, which for large swaths of the movie purposefully utilizes variations on songs that are associated with Christmas, most notably Ode to Joy, which, as mentioned, is the unofficial theme for what the bad guys are doing. So during their invasion of Nakatomi Plaza, they cut between scenes in the party where diegetically they are playing Ode to Joy, and scenes of the bad guys coordinating lower, where they're playing, like, stepped down, lower Ode to Joy, but on, like, lower instruments and more deep, brassy stuff that makes it sound more intimidating, tying the two scenes together with the medium of Christmas music. So I think it's there, I think it's maybe not as strong as some movies, but it's definitely there. It never lets you forget when this movie's happening.
So if Ode to Joy is not a Christmas song...
yes? I mean...
what's festive about the middle? So
I mean,
just coming from someone who did a lot of classical music in their life, playing it and consuming it. I don't necessarily consider Ode to Joy a Christmas song. I associate it with a lot of other things.
Meanwhile, I associate it with the international anthem of the European Union.
That is...
Well, yes.
Yes. So, other than that, and the occasional hat on a dead guy.
Why? You don't like the hat on the dead guy?
Particularly festive about the middle 2/3 of the movie.
It's a little bit tricky. As the stakes get higher, there's less and less Christmas to be found. But I'd argue that's almost the point. There are regular reminders. It helps once we establish the character of Powell, the cop on the outside who John communicates to through the walkie-talkie, because Powell on the outside has more access to Christmassy stuff. He's discussing his family. He's like shopping for gifts and stuff like that. I mean, I'm not gonna like pretend like the middle hour and a half of this movie is the most Christmassy thing on the planet. I mean, come on. I knew what I was getting into by going last.
I don't have any questions.
I think the thing is, like, Ode to Joy is not a Christmas song, but it has something about it that feels a little bit seasonal. I think it's the fact that it sounds similar to a lot of classical songs that are Christmas songs by virtue of being classical music, I will admit. But like, they know what they're doing when they're using it for the Christmas party and for the bad guys, and when they keep bringing it back. It's like, even if it's not really a Christmas song, it's being associated with it in universe by the narrative, by way of it being played at the company Christmas party. Which is my paper-thin justification for the paper-thin Christmas theming after the hostage crisis starts.
I guess my only
There's also a Christmas tree at the party. Yes?
Okay. I guess my only follow-up to that is then, because you mentioned like this true meaning of Christmas being imparted through the character of Holly. Does the movie do anything to establish that that is the theme they're attempting other than naming her Holly? Or is it just sort of the meaning that you've assigned to it? Because I love the idea of the argumentation, but I'm not sure if that is supported by the text.
That's fair. No, there's definitely something there. And I'll admit, the first 2 times I watched this movie, I didn't make this connection. So it might be a little bit subtle. But aside from the name, which I also didn't pick up on until the 3rd watch through because I'm dumb, she's her introduction is her essentially turning down a proposition from her skeezy coworker by listing an extensive number of extremely Christmassy things. Chestnuts, Rudolph and Frosty, etc., etc. She then immediately sits down and makes a call to talk to her children about their Christmas plans, and one of her kids asks her, is Daddy going to be there? And she says, well, we'll see what Santa and Mommy can do about that, because she doesn't want to tell her children the full extent of the complex schism between her and John.
Yes.
But it's clearly present. She wants John to be there for Christmas. She really does. The question is, will John be able to get his head out of his butt enough to actually show up and be there and be festive with them? Holly is the driving force of wanting to make that happen. Essentially, thematically, she represents the fundamental core of John's ideal family Christmas, is reuniting with her and allowing her to embody all these things that she's stated are so important to her. Her and John's tense emotional relationship is actually, like, considering how little time they have to establish it before the hour-and-a-half-long hostage crisis starts, they actually do a very good job of illustrating it just in the space of one argument between her and John, where essentially she's asked if he has anywhere to stay, and he's said that, like, oh, his old captain has retired out here in, like, a nearby town. He's not even suggesting staying at the house that is technically, like, their family house. She tentatively offers the guest bedroom, and he seems offended, but clearly she doesn't want to overstep because she doesn't know where he's putting his boundaries. And it's just, it's such a complicated dynamic between two people who clearly care deeply about each other, but have grown apart in such a strange way. And I think that the way that the narrative frames Holly, it's pretty clear that John's Christmas is entirely contingent on making peace with her and accepting her for who she is. In fact, in the emotional climax of the movie, when he's talking to Powell on the radio, he says that she's heard me say I love you 1,000 times. She's never heard me say I'm sorry. John's entire emotional arc is about swallowing his pride, accepting his failures, and reuniting with Holly, who Holly does not really have an emotional arc in this movie. She's just managing the hostage crisis. She's kind of busy. But Holly doesn't really have a need for emotional growth. She's already in a good place. She's solid. John is the one who needs to do the heavy lifting to close the gap and reunite with the true meaning of Christmas, metaphorically.
Okay.
You don't seem convinced.
I think I'm ready to give my scores, but does anyone else have questions?
I think I'm ready to give my scores.
If I can say something before we get, not that I'm going to ask a question, but I think the hole in that argument is punched by the fact that Holly does not appear on the poster. And the fact that if you look at the poster, you don't really get the sense that it's a Christmas movie, because it's like, yes, this is a poster with a man whose face is the size of this building.
Oh, well, I'm sorry that the branding doesn't quite capture the true genius of this movie.
I think it is very safe to say that this is some of the most fun you can have watching a movie set around Christmas. I do not think that is a controversial statement, which is why I feel very comfortable giving this a 4 on fun, because it's an action movie. It's a hostage situation movie. That's fun. That's very enjoyable to watch. There's a reason a lot of people choose to die on this hill. It's a fun movie. However, the fact that it requires so much digging to get to whether this is a festive holiday movie
All right.
puts it a little bit down, because sure, there are Christmas things. This is a movie that is proximate to Christmas. But when the Christmassy things are a song played in the background that is tenuously associated with Christmas by way of something that happened earlier, and some money that fell down that looks like snow.
Hey.
That's not actually Christmas stuff. That's stuff that looks like other stuff.
Well, I mean, as someone who chose the Grinch, I would say that the destruction of a large amount of money is in fact a Christmassy thing.
I think
All right.
that although this movie is very proximate to Christmas and has very Christmassy things about it, and that the core of the emotional conflict is an emotional conflict in which Christmas is the sticking point, there is a lot of that flavor there, but it is so in the background of the B-plot of the romantic tension that is subservient to the heist, or the subservient to the hostage crisis movie at hand, that I feel like I've got to give this a 1 on festive. I do think it is redeemed by the spirit of apologizing and of making nice that is very core to Christmas, even if it is kind of like smushed into the background. So I'll give it a 2 on does it convey the true meaning of Christmas, because I do think the idea of like forgiveness, acceptance, like owning up to your mistakes is very important. It is very Christmassy, but I don't. It's not all the way there. I'm sorry, Red.
I'll take it.
Yeah, very fun. Probably some of the most fun you can have watching a movie about Christmas.
This is the third year in a row I've watched it for Christmas, so I can confirm. It's very fun.
Yeah.
Also, I haven't watched any of the other movies we've discussed. I don't know if anyone picked up on that. This is the only of these Christmas movies I've ever watched. All right, I'm ready to be destroyed. Give me my next 2 scores.
So, I'm gonna start off with, I still don't believe it's a Christmas movie. I don't know if that was a specific dig at me, because you know that that's my stance on that, and I still hold to that. But based off the scoring criteria, I planned on scoring you lower, but you worked me up.
Oh, really? I did not know that you had the opinion that Die Hard was not a Christmas movie.
We've had this discussion multiple times. I assumed this was a dig at me specifically. I think we've actually had this conversation on stream.
Oh, no!
Possibly.
Well, I didn't retain it. I'm sorry.
That's fair. Pretty sure it already existed in the OSP lore, so I don't mind outing myself again. I still don't
Someone
believe
check
it's a
the
Christmas
wiki.
movie.
Right,
I don't think that mattered enough to make it on the wiki, but who knows? I'm gonna give it a 3 for is it fun? It's not gonna get a 4, partially because I already used it, and partially because it's got a little too much murdering around the holiday time for it to like get the solid 4 for me. But it's a good 3. It's very fun. I love a good action movie.
Heck yeah.
Is it festive? My original plan was to give you a 0. But you worked me up to a 1.
Yes!
Because the beginning and the end do have some festivity to it, but the majority of the movie is not festive. But there is some festive elements, so I will give it a 1. There is some festivity to it. As for does it impart the true meaning of Christmas, I'm actually going to give you a 2.5. It doesn't deserve a 3. I can't give you a 3 on this. There is too much murder. There is too much murder for a 3.
Think about how many Christmases John McClane ruined by proximity.
So many people. But I will give you a 2.5 because there is a lot of redemption. And while Christmas is not all about bringing together your estranged family, it's very clear that both of these people did still care about each other, and that their family was only estranged due to circumstance, and that there was something that they needed to work out. It wasn't that they would be estranged otherwise. It
Right.
was just this one specific issue that they needed to work out, and that they eventually showed that their care for each other superseded this seemingly superficial issue once
Yeah.
they got over it. So for that reason, I'm going to give you a 2.5 minus 0.5 for a murder. So
Right.
that's
I'll take it. I'll take it.
6.5 overall.
Yeah. Not too bad. Lowest score on the board so far.
Red, I've got some terrible news for you.
Oh, yeah?
So I'm gonna give you the 4 in fun because undeniably Die Hard is a blast to watch. It's a very good blend of humor and action. We knew it was gonna do well in fun, but I cannot in good conscience give you more than a 1 in both festive and the true meaning of Christmas, and here's why.
Ooh, cold.
I do think that this movie uses Christmas as a device, but I do not think that that makes it a Christmas movie. Just because it is using the imagery of Christmas to maybe color the action scenes, either to add humor in certain scenes, such as putting the Santa hat on the dead guy, or to give a sense of why the plot is happening at a certain time. Or maybe to heighten the emotional response or the emotional need for John to reunite with his family. Those factors aren't combining with any, like, Christmas spirit to necessarily flavor the film in any way that gives the indication that it's supposed to be a Christmas movie. It is just a movie that is using Christmas as a device to heighten the other genre that it's in, which is an action thriller. So I don't think it is necessarily...
Back to Venn diagram from,
Back to the Venn diagram from
presentation
earlier.
2, slide 3.
I like how we started this off with, like, and scores don't really matter, and then we went, like, hardcore, like, college-level rubric with this.
I knew this would happen. I knew this would happen the more granular we got with the scoring. That's what makes it funny.
Yes. Again, such a fun movie. If you want to watch it at Christmas, I'm not going to tell you not to, because it's just a blast. But I don't think it necessarily is a Christmas movie. I think it is a Christmas as a device in an action movie situation.
It's fair.
So it's
Average
not
score is
particularly
still a
festive.
6.5, though.
Yeah, my average score is a 6.5.
Yeah.
It's
not
like,
bad.
it's not great, but it's not
But
bad.
I think you only maybe convinced Blue it was a Christmas movie.
That's okay.
I will
Got me
Red,
on
to
2
your
points
credit-
for true meaning.
Yeah.
To your credit, in your defense, it is, I think, the second highest rated movie on IMDb's top 100 Christmas movies list, but I don't trust IMDb for shit, so...
Yeah, no.
Well, you know what? I'll take the approval.
Yes, so you're
the
not
highest
alone
rated?
in your thought. I think it's a Wonderful Life, which
Oh, okay.
is a classic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fair.
I love It's a Wonderful Life.
I
Maybe
feel
I should have
like-
defended
I feel
that.
I feel like next year we should, go through IMDb's list. We could do
Yeah.
that for, we should do that for your podcast, Indigo.
Ooh, yeah.
I have, again, zero
Yeah.
control over what people put on that podcast, but, yeah, that sounds like it's all of us scored. Do we tally,
Yeah,
run the permutations?
yeah, we got the numbers on the board. Let me just pull it up.
Yeah. Do some quick
yeah,
math,
the,
math major.
Oh,
Well,
yeah, you did that.
The overall highest score goes to Cyan, who's with a 9.5, a 9, and a 7. Still beats out the runner-up of Indigo with a 9, an 8, and an 8.
It's because you and I put a lot of effort into our PowerPoint.
You really did, yeah.
Yeah, no, Red purposefully chose a hard assignment, and
Oh,
I
yeah.
kind of phoned it in, because admittedly, I
Yeah.
did not present for very long compared to the rest of these.
To be fair, though, you saw my PowerPoint in advance.
Yeah, but like, here's the thing. I naively trusted that we would kind of, like, stick to a 10 minutes per movie framework here.
On
that
this
part of the
channel,
assignment?
no way.
I don't remember that being part
It
of the
was
assignment.
implicit in
I
the set.
wasn't in the group
No,
chat!
no, that's fine. I mean, it was the fact that we had set up the slides in such a way of like, oh, like 6 to 10. Like, anyway, we don't even include
I kept
that.
trying to put stuff in the group chat. It was just, it kept getting sent to the other group chat.
I think that we all did exactly what I expected us to do, which is...
Honestly, I agree. I think this was very much on brand for all of us.
Come on, Red, we don't need those stupid points anyway.
Let me just
didn't
go
get
dust
last
off
place.
my...
I didn't get last place, that's right.
Yeah, I got last place.
To be fair, you also had the
Red,
shortest
honestly,
movie,
you
so
did
were
a better
working
job
I had by
defending
far
Die
the
Hard
shortest
than
movie.
I thought
Yeah.
anyone would be capable of doing. I was almost
Really?
convinced that Holly was a metaphor for the true meaning of Christmas. Just so close to that threshold.
I mean, you should know
no,
that
Red,
while
I think the fact that you got any points at all on this was a testament to your argumentative
I
expertise.
was planning to give you. I was planning on giving you my only 0.
Oh. I'm glad I argued you down. I will say, though, just in case people start thinking I'm too clever, while I was watching this movie, I was genuinely like, Holly, like in Christmas, and wrote that shit down.
I'm just picturing
Like,
Red,
I'd really
she's sitting
put it
alone,
together.
a giant like leather chair squishing all the way in. You take out a little notepad and your little quill pen, and you just put a little frick.
Yep.
Holly
More like
equals Christmas.
No. It's more conspiracy border, like that bit with Jack Skellington and the big chalkboard and
You're just
the
picking up a
chestnuts
thread
over
on the
open
board,
fire.
and you connect the thread from Holly to Christmas very slowly, and we get
What does
intercut
it mean?
flashbacks of all of the like shaky motion video
Yeah.
crime scene photos. Anyway,
Going
this
full
is-
beautiful mind on it.
Yeah.
Yes. Overall, I think this was a resounding success. I will take my last place with pride.
I was just happy
we
to have
got to
an
make a
excuse my degree again.
PowerPoint.
Yeah.
I got to make a PowerPoint that wasn't
Yeah.
from a template.
Honestly, though, Indigo, there was a part in your presentation where I was like, oh, yeah, she really studied this for, like, years.
I wrote so many of these.
Oh, God.
Google my thesis.
Yeah.
Don't do that. I don't think it's out there anymore anyway.
Me,
Yeah.
every time I get to fix a computer at work,
Yeah.
I'm like, I studied engineering.
But this, I hope everyone in
baby.
the audience goes and watches all 4 of these, because honestly, they're all great picks. This would be
They
a
all
great,
deserve to be watched.
great marathon, because you're really going to hit a lot of highs and lows if you watch all 4 of these in a row. Watch them in
Definitely.
the order that we presented them, and then feed back to
Yeah.
us. What scores would you give give these movies?
Definitely.
In terms
Yeah,
of
yeah.
festivity, fun, and true meaning. Comment down below. Let's get some viewer
Hell yeah.
interaction.
Let's get that engagement, bro. Let's get
yeah,
that
man.
engagement.
Ring that bell.
Only a small percentage of you subscribe. If everyone in the world who watches this video subscribed, and everyone in the world who didn't watch this video subscribed, then we have 7
Much
million
like
subscribers.
Santa taking a day off, if we all get together and subscribe to OSP, then OSP will bring the true spirit of Christmas to us.
Oh,
Yeah,
God.
get us to 7.5 billion subscribers. That way I can take Christmas off.
Woo!
But this was
Oh,
a
man,
good time.
all right.
Yeah, Red, bring us home.
Yeah, all right. Yeah,
Mario, is
there-
it
Are you
Please
prepared
jump,
for the
'cause-
closing?
No.
Wait, but Red did the intro.
Not
I
my
did
job.
the intro.
Not my
yeah.
job. This
It's
is Red's video.
technically
She's
not
editing.
anyone's.
Not my job.
That's true.
Not my
Yeah,
job.
I am editing. Well,
Thanks
thank
so
you all
much
so
for
much for
listening.
tuning
Oh.
in.
But they're watching. It's a video. Thanks so much for watching. Have a
Tuning
good Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
I hope you had as much fun as we did, and have a lovely holiday season, a very Merry Christmas, and we will see you next Friday for other shenanigans. Tune in. Woo!
Ooh, if there are any 14th century knights out there, DM me. I believe you.
Cut. Cut. That's it.
Can't read that one.